Today we're going to review the DJI Action 2 that I've actually bought with my own money. This is not a sponsored video, and I've chosen this against the DJI Action 3 and a plethora of action cameras that are actually available there in the market. So the DJI Action 3 comes in a packaging like this. As part of the packaging is the DJI Action itself, the DJI Action 2 camera. It actually comes with the power bank because this is a power combo that I've actually bought. I did not buy the screen combo at all. If you'd like to understand why I bought a power combo and not a screen combo, I'm going to talk about it in the next video. I got a magnetic holder which basically has, if you can see, GoPro kind of a mounting loop holes up over here. The other thing I got is a lanyard that I can go ahead and actually put across myself and then attach the DJI up to the lanyard to have a look at. I chose the DJI Action 2 camera because that actually fits most of my use cases or the areas that I want to go ahead and use the action camera. The first case I want to do is to actually create content while traveling during my trips across in Australia. I do actually have a Lumix G9 on which this particular video is being shot. I do have an A7 Mark IV with which basically I do commercial work. But I was always looking at a camera which was a bit convenient to actually take it out in public because I'm a little bit public shy when I'm trying to do video logs. Especially, I don't mind taking pictures and standing in odd angles and taking pictures in public, but I'm a bit shy, to trying to take video. So I do actually have the DJI Osmo Pocket 2 with me, but the DJI Osmo Pocket 2, by the time you actually open it up, set it up, try to take a video, is almost all like setting up a Sony ZV-E10 in a smaller form factor on a gimbal and trying to take a video out of it. I was always looking for one. I used to have a GoPro 360 camera, but then what happened was one of the lenses on that got scratched and I was looking for replacement of that lens. It was getting too expensive and it was more than $150 just to replace the lens. So when I was out in the market trying to look for something which is portable, easily taken across, it's waterproof so that I can actually take it in any kind of conditions and I can, not be worried whether I'm there in the frame or not, just point and shoot kind of thing. But yes, gives me exceptionally well 4K quality image, then DJI Action to fit the bill. Now, some notable competitions for this was the DJI Action 3, was the GoPro Hero 11, GoPro Hero 10, and also maybe GoPro Hero 9. But then this guy has actually beaten all of them first on price. It was actually running on sale in JB Hi-Fi. Thanks to JB Hi-Fi, I was able to go ahead and actually buy this on sale and saved close to $100 on its recommended retail price. When I was trying to buy the DJI Action 2, did my research actually as usual on YouTube, like all of us, and on Google and across the websites. And what I found out was the sensor which is there in the DJI Action 2 and the DJI Action 3, which by the by, with the firmware update can give you 10-bit color actually, if you're interested in something like that. Uh, I'm not interested in it. It's not for my use case. They both sport the same sensor. The sensor is 1 by 1.7 inch sensor. It's a CMOS sensor if I'm not wrong. It's a f2.8 and has a field of view of 155 degrees. So almost all image to image, if you put the 10-bit resolution aside, the DJI Action 3 and the DJI Action 2 only vary with respect to form factor. Now in this, a cool thing of this form factor is this is the actual camera. That's it. This is the only piece which is the camera. This is the power block that was given to me, right? Now, most of the times I would be carrying it with the power block for sure. And in fact, I'm trying to even buy a waterproof case to put this whole thing in. So from a size standpoint of view, the DJI Action 3 is smaller than this whole piece along with the waterproof case to it. But when I wanted it, I can just take this, which is waterproof, can take down up to 10 meters under the water. I can just put it on the lanyard like this, if you can see. Keep walking, have a point of view video or content across a beach or basically across an amusement center or across a park. Both my hands are free. I need not go ahead and hold the camera at all in my hand. Everything is being shot in it. Now this guy does host a 32 GB internal memory. Now 32 GB internal memory when you're shooting at 4K 60 frames per second will give you 23 minutes. But then if you start shooting at 1080p 60 frames per second, you can actually extend that much more further. And that was my whole idea because see, when you're trying to shoot outside, trying to create content, sometimes point of view content, you're not shooting continuously for 30-40 minutes. I am basically doing only for like 5-10 minutes and that's it. Sometimes it's just a couple of minutes and that's all the content is. Now, I always prefer to shoot most of my content in 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second so that if I have to slow down and create a slow motion effect out there, it's easier for me to do. There will be a lot more obviously data captured in it, but that's fine. I use a DaVinci Resolve 18 to go ahead and edit all these videos, so I don't think that it's going to create much of a problem if I have a higher frames per second video footage along with me. The focus range for the DJI Action 2 starts off from zero point 0.3 meters to infinity. So 0.3 meters is roughly 300 mm, which should roughly be of this size. So anything after this, from here onwards, is actually completely in focus for it, all the way up to infinity, which is pretty much easy. Only thing is you have to be careful if you're trying to take any close-up shots with something, but then that's why you actually have an ultra-wide view, so you can zoom out kind of thing and do. And by the way, it comes with three types of modes in it. You get a standard dewarped mode, you get a wide, and you get an ultra wide mode. And I guess the ultra mode is where the entire 155 degrees of field of view actually kicks in. The ISO range for the sensor which is there inside it, the 1 by 1.7 inch sensor, is from 100 to 6400. It can take stills of 12 megapixel. It has a digital zoom from 1x to 4x, so you can actually have a 4x digital zoom, but nothing more than that. But what I've seen in the 4x digital zoom, that it gets a little bit noisy, obviously, even though you're trying to put it in a 4K and trying to record the video. This is because the base sensor is 12 megapixel. They would like to keep it at 12 megapixels so that it's a little bit more sensitive towards low light. But then since it's limited on the ISO side only up to 6400 of ISO, we have to go out and really check what kind of a low light videography or photo it can generate. Look out for that video that I'm going to make and publish in the upcoming few weeks. Now this can support different resolutions of video, different aspect ratios of video, and different frame rates of video. Now let's go by it one by one. It can do 4K 4:3 at 30 frames per second and also at 60 frames per second. It can do 4K 16:9 resolution, and you can do from 24 frames per second all the way up to 120 frames per second. It can do 2.7K at 4:3 aspect ratio, again from 24 frames per second all the way to 60 frames per second. The interesting part is it can do 2.7K at 16:9 aspect ratio, but all the way up to 120 frames per second. Now the cool thing is even your 4K 16:9 can go up to 120 frames per second. Obviously it has 1080p, but in 1080p you can do all the way up to 240 frames per second. Now there is something called as 1080p power saving, which is a 16:9 aspect ratio. You can do up to 60 frames per second. I'm really not sure what that is for, but I'll go ahead and test it and share it with you. You can definitely do slow-mo videos on this on 4K, 2.7K, and 1080p. But remember, if you're doing 4K slow-mo, it's going to be in the 16:9 aspect ratio and not in the 4:3 aspect ratio, so that you frame your video accordingly. The photos in terms of the format are actually available both in JPEG as well as RAW. Now, because this is DJI camera, I think it comes in a DCI RAW format, if I'm not wrong. The video formats that are available, typically the files are in MP4. So it's either using a codec of HEVC, which is very similar to what your iPhones would use, or a H.264. But the H.264 codec is not available for all frame rates and for all resolutions and all aspect ratios. It's only available in few of them and in only few of the stabilization modes, whereas the HEVC codec is available throughout the range. The operating temperature for this DJI Action 2 is 0 to 40 degrees Celsius. Okay, now if you're looking for Fahrenheit, that would be 32 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. But the charging temperature roughly around 5 to 60 degrees Celsius. There have been complaints earlier in the previous versions where the DJI Action 2 was getting too hot and shutting down by itself. Now DJI does actually have an option inside it in the menu where you can tell the camera to keep recording up to a higher temperature is actually reached. This is similar to many of the Canon and Sony cameras if you're using any of them. And then they have gone ahead and given us this free magnetic shield. Okay, so this is plastic and it's basically having a little bit of squishy material on the top where the button is. But apart from that, this hooks on magnetically to this, stays on it, and this provides a kind of a heat sink which actually allows the DJI Action 2 to work for much more longer temperature. So obviously the recording times inside it would automatically change. It's all done by default because the firmware intelligently recognizes that you have put the magnetic protective case around it, and it'll start recording for much more larger time. Easiest way to install it, just align them, the top button to the top button, and then obviously it only goes in one way. You do have pins in the bottom. These pins are both for power as well as data recording, because this particular set is completely sealed. Okay, it's completely sealed. So you do not have any SD card slots in it. You do not have any power cable slots in it, nothing. You got to charge it, or you got to expand the memory. You got to attach the power combo, power piece to it, power block to it, whatever you want to call. That's the reason I say, most of the times I'm going to anyway have my power block to it, because A, it makes easy in holding it if I'm holding with my hand, and B, it always keeps charging this one. Align the pins here, you align the pins here, and that's all you got to do. It'll fit in, and it'll maybe give you an acknowledgement up there saying that, hey, look, you've actually fitted a magnetic protective case. By putting the magnetic protective case, I can see an increment of anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes of actually video coverage in 4K. I got to go and check what it's going to be for 1080p and other. In terms of outside ports, you basically have the power on, power off, record, all of it in the same button. You hold it for a little bit of longer time, it would power on. You can see the LED which actually comes out there. There is only a single mic on this, and that mic is port is actually up here. Then you basically have the magnetic pins down here, which are both for, you have actually a magnet for alignment. You have these notches which actually hold the bottom, power bank, or the power module, and you have a magnet here for alignment. That's the way this whole thing is made up. On the sides, nothing much. You basically have a DJI branding on this side, obviously the mic on this side, and you do basically have like a lanyard that you want to put through it and hold it with your hand. That's kind of thing is actually available. This is off, and this is the power block. And what does the power block have? When you go ahead and buy the magnetic protective case, you also get one for the power block. Now I've gone ahead and actually put on this one. Don't want to remove it. You have an SD card input here. You have an USB-C input here. These two are actually the latching hooks, which would go ahead and hook on to the actual DJI Action 2 camera unit. And these are the pins which are transferring charge as well as transferring the data if you choose to record all your video into the SD card. The way you connect it is very simple. That's it. That's how simple it is to go ahead and connect. Now, once you connect it, you see on the back, you have the LED blinking. So what it actually does is it not only allows you to turn on your DJI Action 2, but it also continuously keeps on charging it. The way you know is on the backside menu. If you click on here, you can see the charge actually going on. And then you can also see on the camera, you have a green light which actually pops up. That means, it's actually charging. Now we press the record button, which is just a single tap on the top. Then it changes the light to red. On the back end, it keeps flashing as red. So you know that the camera is actually recording. You also have a side record button, which is part of your power module. You can also use this to on, off, and stop recording. It does the same action like the top one. This power module also actually has a magnetic alignment in the bottom. So the alignment across in different kinds of modules that are there in the DJI Action 2 is all magnetic, whereas the holding is actually done by the notches on the corner. The GoPro type of mount that I'm actually having here, okay, which comes by default with the DJI Action 2 as part of this power bundle, I would just go ahead, put it there. So they get auto aligned, they get auto clipped, and that's it. And when I want to remove it, all I got to do, if you can see here, you can just got to push the clip, move it aside, and it comes out. Very, very simple. But these are pretty powerful magnets, so you got to watch out for if you have any electronic devices on you which get impacted by magnets. Ensure that you're keeping this slightly away from those places. Now, whenever you actually have it aligned, always try to press these pins, okay, both the sides in, just so that it's properly latched. When you look at the weight of the DJI Action 2 by the camera or the main Action 2 module itself, the weight is 56 grams, which is very, very light. The power module, which goes ahead and not only charges it, but also provides extra memory space for the GoPro Action 2, weighs around 56.6 grams. So both put together, you're looking roughly around 110, 120 grams. That's it. Not much. It's actually lighter than an iPhone, but it's basically a bit denser, when compared to an iPhone, obviously. The DJI Action 2 fits in to most of these use cases much more easily in a much more portable way and less intrusive way when compared to the rest of the action cameras which are actually out there. So I'm looking forward to go ahead and create a lot more content and publish a lot of my travel content on this channel. So wish me all the best, wish you all the best, and looking forward to the next videos that I'm going to make on the DJI Action 2 action camera. If you do like this video, please go ahead and press on the thumbs up button. A sub would be absolutely awesome. And if you'd like to share it with your friends and family, please don't be shy. And if you'd like to look something very specific to the cameras that I'm actually having, whether it's the DJI Action 2, whether it's the DJI Pocket 2, or whether it's my G9 or it's my A7 Mark IV, please go ahead, drop a comment below in the video. I'll try to go ahead and make that content very specifically for y'all and post it on YouTube. Because of your comment, someone else will actually learn a bit more, or I might learn a bit more. So until the next video, wish you all the best, stay safe, peace.